Yo, what's going on YouTube? Mr. Mobetta here, bringing y'all a Wednesday edition of Mobetta Trading. Today, just like every other day, we are going to be breaking down the Bitcoin chart as well as some select altcoin charts that we will be keeping an eye on, breaking down those charts as well. Per usual, we'll be breaking down these charts completely naked, no indicators, no bullshit, just pure price action, and seeing if we can identify our next trading opportunities. All right. Per usual, we are going to start with a top-down analysis. We'll go ahead and jump onto the weekly chart just so we can get a really high time frame view of how the markets have been behaving recently. And as you can see here, we've also, obviously, since being at $78,000, we have now traded up 33.5%, a little bit more than that actually, about 35%, give or take a few percentage points. If you wanted to go from candle wick to candle wick, it's about 41%. On Bitcoin over the last 5 weeks or so, this is 6 weeks, we have essentially been in a straight line up since making this low of $74,508. Okay, so on the weekly time frame, you see we have no clear resistance until this week kind of being printed, which is to be expected. After 5 weeks straight up, we need to have a little bit of time to kind of sit here and digest the price action, digest where we're at right now before Bitcoin is going to make its next move. All right, so if we're gonna just go break this down, we got some resistance being created here at the, what is this, about $103,000, $104,000 on the weekly. You can see we got some support on the lower time frame that is being printed right now. So this $100,750 will be a lower time frame support area. All right, so we'll go ahead and drop down to the daily time frame. All right, as y'all can see, we have just been moving completely sideways this week. Obviously, you can see here we have an uptrend. Price is going up. Okay, and where we're at currently, my bad, let me go ahead and fix that. Where we're at currently, we've just been trading sideways. Price not being able to make any new highs or lows, and has not been able to close outside of this range, right? We have just had candles trading within this range. So this is defining the range that we are currently stuck in, okay? So we drop this down to the 4-hour candle now. You can see a little bit better. This is a very strong area of resistance here, at about $104,000, $105,000. And we have a better resistance being printed here on the 4-hour at about $101,700, give or take a few dollars. Okay, in between here is what we refer to as the range of death. Range of death right now. Why do we refer to it as that? Because there's just no clear actionable candles being printed where we can definitively take some trades and have our probabilities be in our favor to make a profit, right? So again, if you were to have gotten in here, that's a good trade. You could have taken this back up to the top of the range. You had clear candles, right? And now this is hindsight, of course, so hindsight is always 20/20, so take that for what it is. But nevertheless, that would have been a good actionable trade for you to take. Back up towards resistance, and as you see, we got towards resistance and we completely just smacked down. And now the only actionable trade that would have been able to been taken from there is a break below this candle low. But even then, you're kind of playing with fire, right? You got price coming back up to test your entry level. We got some wicks being created, but no closes being able to be done back down below this area. So it would have just been a really difficult trade to take. So, for the last few days, it's just been kind of meh. It's been mediocre and really mostly unprofitable trades unless you're on really low time frames, scalping in and out, right? So currently you can see we do have resistance being created here at $104,000, but you got to kind of measure the range, right? Like, is this is about a 75 pip range. So maybe on the lower time frame, we can kind of look at it and see if we can get a little bit more actionable trading on the lower time frames. But on 4-hour time frame, it's really just not worth it, right? Even if you were to measure Okay, from here, how far would your stop loss have to be? Your stop loss would be, like a 70 pip stop. You don't want to do that. That's just ridiculous. 70 pip stop for, potentially a 70 pip move. The risk to reward is just not there, in my opinion. So there's really nothing to do here. In my opinion, the only thing that is going to make this chart look actionable is if we can get a retest into this level and maybe hold it. We don't necessarily have to come down and test this level exactly, but if we get a test around this area and start to form a base where we get some separation in the candles, then we can look to take a trade higher back towards the top of the range and maybe even a breakout. But as it stands right now, there's just really nothing to do, right? There's really nothing to do. You could draw your support. There's some support being created here at 103,300. So if we go down on the 1 hour, you can adjust that a little bit. Got some support being created here. So until or unless, we get a candle to break below $103,200. So until or unless we get a candle that really breaks and closes strong, something like this, right? And then we get a candle wick to push up, and then say we got a wick created here, and then we get a candle to break lower and break this wick. Maybe we can fill this. Maybe we could fill down to here, and we could potentially take a trade all the way down to 101,000. But we just have to see how a candle would line up in that scenario. But until that happens, you can't take a trade right now, right? And you couldn't take a trade, even if you were like, well, what if the candle is pushing down, right? Like, what if we're getting a candle that is pushing down like this and it's still open, it hasn't closed? Well, you can't take a trade because look at how many times we've rejected this area. Once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. We've created wicks down here and not been able to close below here. Meaning, if this candle is still open and you take a trade as it breaks below here, there is still a chance that this candle can retrace and move back up against you, right? So you have to get a candle close at the very least below 103,100 and I would say like $75. See if we can even get onto the 30-minute time frame and kind of adjust that a little bit. Yeah, okay. So even here, $102,000 is really, let's see, 102,860 would be the area that you'd want to see price break below for a short lower. Otherwise, right, you could wait until this is looking pretty good on a lower time frame. Otherwise, it makes more sense to wait for longs and to see if we can get a close above here. Right, maybe we can get a candle to close something like this. Make this, I'll just make it green for now. Above this area, I would even say probably we'd want to see it at least close above here, but potentially even close a little bit higher. Then, if price were to create a wick, and the next candle were to create a wick down, and then push up, and break this candle's high, then you could take a trade back towards 104,300, 104,400, right? That's the only way you can take a trade right now, is if you were to get something like this, where a candle closes above here and then the next candle can move up in this clean range, or you have to wait until we get a candle to close below $102,860. Now it's possible that we get down here and just like here, we start to create a base instead, and maybe we create like another little double bottom, right? And then you can look to get long from this area to go higher, depending on how candles have shaped up and how they look heading into that move. But as it stands right now, there's really nothing to do. And you have to expect at this point, Bitcoin is up 41% on the month, essentially. Like 30% on the month, 41% since marking its low. It has not had any decent pullbacks, and so far it's just been consolidating. you've got to expect that this consolidation can happen for quite a while, right? We can really just chop in here, and we've seen Bitcoin ranges last for 3 months, 4 months sometimes, before being able to finally choose a direction and break out. So that's to say that there's going to be plenty of opportunities in this range, but you don't want to rush anything. You don't want to rush anything in this range when there's nothing really explicitly actionable presenting itself. Okay, so now you could, if price starts breaking below this low here, you could take a chance at a short scalp into this area. But again, with all the rejections and with all of the, mumbo jumbo that is right here in this area, to me, this is just a no trade zone, right? On a higher time frame, this consolidation that we're in right now is a no trade zone. But on a lower time frame, it definitely is. It definitely is. Now you can scalp this consolidation when opportunities present itself, but until they do, just don't rush into anything, right? It's already Wednesday. We got 2 days left on the trading week. There could be a couple of short scalps that kind of present themselves over the coming couple of days, but if there's nothing really actionable, nothing that is popping off the charts that makes you think, oh shit, I need to be in this trade, then just don't take the trade, right? Just don't do anything. The hardest part, but oftentimes the most profitable part about being a trader, is sitting on your hands and doing nothing. You have to know, much like a poker player, right? You have to know when to bet, you have to know when to call, and you have to know when to fold. At this point, you just fold, bro. You just fold and keep your capital and wait until something very actionable presents itself, and then you can look to enter the trade, right? If you're wanting to take anything, in my opinion, the Asian market tends to be a period of consolidation, so you could probably just see some more bouncing and forth, back and forth between here, right? You could see something like that. You're better served waiting at least until London Open, when you can get some really high volume. But more than likely, 7 a.m. the London-New York crossover would probably be a good time to look for some decent trades to be setting up. But until then, just don't do anything. You just don't do anything. You just wait. Sit on your hands, just wait. And if you feel like something absolutely, without a single doubt in your mind, is giving you the call, then you enter the trade. But until that happens, just do nothing. All right, so again, we're just trading in this range right now. Bitcoin is settling price around between 101,000 and basically 105,000. It settled the price. It is trying to digest where it wants to go next. And when it wants to go somewhere, it will show you quickly where it's trying to go. All right? And just don't do anything stupid until then. Okay, so cool. Go ahead, and now that we've moved on from that, we'll go on towards ETH. Clear this chart real quick. Go on to the weekly. Same thing. ETH has had a beautiful breakout from this consolidation area way down here. No real pauses in the market up until this week. But on the weekly time frame, you can see it's kind of just working its way out right now. We have this resistance being created here at about 27.46. We have the support on lower time frame at this 24.20 area. So we go on to the daily. Right. Okay. So daily, we got some wicks down to 24.20. Got candle closes around 24.88. So strong areas of resistance. Here we got candle closes around 24.86.25. So some pretty strong resistance here. Drop this down to the 4 hour. All right. On the 4 hour. So on the 4 hour, the ETH has created a swing failure. Right. So we tried to push higher, paused out. Tried to push higher but couldn't break this high, and we closed back within this range. So it's very plausible that if Bitcoin settles and kind of drags itself lower, that ETH and altcoins drag lower as well. Right now, this looks like a little bit more actionable area to get into some trades, potentially some shorts, if we are able to close lower. You can see that we've created support here on the 4 hour. right? And we're starting to break below that now. Now, the reason you don't get into a trade here is because we have not closed the candle. So there's still potential for this candle to flip and turn bullish, right? So we drop onto the 1 hour. Okay, so even here you can see the 1 hour has tried to push below this area and has been unable to, has been able to close below 24.82. So until we get a close below 24.82, 24.83, I would say, yeah, 24.80 would probably even be better. Till we get a close below 24.80 and then a wick up and push down to potentially fill this wick and maybe come into this area of support here. Maybe we get a bounce right there. Maybe we just kind of blow straight through it. Who knows? Yeah, so either that needs to happen or we need to see a candle close above 26.26. Candle close above 26.26 and we have clean room to run towards 26.73 and potentially towards, 26.97, 2700 area. All right, so on the 30, we drop down. Yeah, we got a double bottom forming right here. See, this is just, in my opinion, there's no really good risk profile for taking shorts right now. You could potentially get this move below here down into 25.40 and then maybe potentially down into 2500, but there's just so much congestion in this area. I would just wait. I just feel like longs are better served. So maybe we get down here and we tap that again and we start to move back up, or maybe we just kind of float around here and drift higher, and then we get a push up, a retest, and then a move higher could take us back up into this area of consolidation. All right, on the short term area of consolidation, could get a move up into that. We have pretty clean candle range, so yeah, I feel like this scenario would be a good opportunity. This would be obviously a better opportunity, but it may be a little bit more jumbled and you might have to wait a little bit longer for price to work itself out. But if we get a close above 26.26, we have a really good potential trade up towards 26.76. Now we are in a bullish trend, so go with the trend. The trend is your friend, right? It's the most cliche moniker in trading, but it is one of the best ways to continuously stay profitable. Go with the trend. Don't try and counter trend trade unless you're at extremes, right? Like up here is an extreme. This area failed. When we started failing here, you could have taken the trade below here. Right now, hindsight is 2020, of course, and that would have got you a really good trade, right? I actually was in which trade was I in? Yeah, I was in this one. I took this trade below here as we broke down, and I closed at 26.45 because I understand that we're in a bullish trend, and yeah, like holding your shorts is just not smart. So as we broke below this area of consolidation, right, we got a really strong move into it, and as we broke below here, I simply took the trade lower, got out when I felt like it was an overextended short, and sure enough, it price reversed right up on me and would have come back and hit my stop loss had I had it where or had I left it on, and then it would have moved lower, right? But even this was a really good trade to take. We have some short-term consolidation, a break through this support level, and then you could have taken this back down to these lows if you so chose. But yeah, so all about just finding really easy actionable trades, man. That's the name of the game. And really the hardest thing to do is just sit on your hands, wait, and wait for those trades to come to you, right? Because they will eventually. They will. Okay, so I mean, like, it may be tempting to get into here, but again, just like we're talking about the shorts down here, it may be tempting to get into a long at this area, but there's just, there's so much congestion. There's a resistance area here. It could be rejected from this area. It could be rejected from here. It could be rejected from here. There's just way too many rejection areas in this very tight range to even attempt to take a trade, in my opinion. So for me, the best thing you can do is wait until you get a candle to close above 26.27 or a candle to potentially close below 2567, and then aim, for the 2540 area. All right. So yeah. All right, that's ETH. Go ahead and drop this down to Solana. Same thing here. We're just gonna go really quickly through this now. We have resistance being printed, right? Solana is obviously taking out its recent resistance areas, which I'll mark out just for, just so we can see that on the chart, right? We have taken out these both areas of resistance, and now we're trading back underneath of this range that we've created, or back inside of this range that we've created. So we have support at $172. We have resistance at $184, excuse me. So dropping out on the 4 hour. 4 hours got a really good resistance area here at about 184. Support, now you can see, kind of drops down here. We traded below this support area, and we even broke below it and closed below it, but we couldn't maintain a move lower. Okay, and this is kind of the danger of, again, this is the danger of shorting in an uptrend, same as, going long in a downtrend, right? The trend is your friend. Stick with it. Because you're more likely to get stopped out on a short in a bullish trend than you are to get in a long on a bullish trend, right? That just makes sense. Okay, so we have 4 hour support at 166, 4 hour resistance at 184 on the 1 hour. On the 1 hour, it's looking really good. Okay, we could potentially see price try to trade down into the $173 level. This would be somewhere where I'd be looking to get long if we were to get something like this, like a doji or something, and then maintain this level, break back above the highs. Or if we were able to get a candle to close above $177, you could look to take something like this back up towards the highs, potentially, right? Because then you got some resistance here that you might have to look out for, but you got some pretty clean candles here. And yeah, that's all you're gonna do with that. Otherwise, if we were to get a candle to close really strongly, kind of like what we had on that ETH trade that I was showing you, if we had a candle that closed like this, and then we got price to wick up and then push back down, then we could take a trade lower, maybe to 169, potentially down to the 166 area, and see how price reacts from there, right? But right now, we're just forming a big old range, right? This is just moved sideways, and there's no obvious appreciation of price. There's no depreciation of price. There's simply an acceptance of price between $184 and $166. And so we will look for trades within that range until that range becomes not a range any longer. All right, cool, sweet. That's Solana. On a 30-minute, I guess we can drop down. I don't really think it's necessary. 30-minute actually looks pretty good for if we can get a price to close below above $178, $177.75, whatever you want to call it. We got a pretty good range up towards $181.50. Otherwise, just wait, in my opinion. It is just not. It's just not good practice to short in bull trends unless there's an obvious reason or catalyst. An obvious reason would be a move in the extreme, which would be here above all the highs previously, and then breaking below and retesting that. Once we close this white candle here, this bearish candle, then you could have potentially taken a short. But even then, you're kind of having to just sit in this for a long time and be patient and hope that price doesn't come back to stop you out. It's just not really worth it, in my opinion. Longs are just so much easier at this point. All right, cool. Anyway, so we're going to move to XRP now. Hit daily time frame. We'll go to the weekly just so we can see. XRP actually has not had a crazy move yet, right? As you can see, like in Solana, in ETH, and in Bitcoin, it's just a pretty crazy extensions happening in all of these. XRP, meanwhile, has just really been slow and steady stair-stepping its way up. So XRP, in my opinion, is really showing a lot of strength. The slow grind higher is actually better because it's allowing price to be accepted in this range before it really appreciates. So if I had to guess, I would assume that XRP is going to start really moving here in the next couple of weeks. Okay, on the weekly time frame, we had resistance here that is now attempting to close above. Again, just like if we were looking at this on a 30-minute time frame, price is not closed yet. So we don't know if this is truly a breakout or if it's a fake out. We have to wait and see. We have to have price close above this $2.45 area in order to consider it a breakout from this resistance. Okay, so on the daily time frame, we'll drop it lower. Cool. We got we got resistance being created here. Much like ETH, we had a push higher, an attempt to push higher, and another attempt to push higher, unable to break the high, and now we're closing back within the range. We have our support being created at $2.36. The 4 hour, we have a little bit more clarity. We have resistance at 262.23-ish area. And we have price now attempting to close below this support, which again, still has not closed below. We got 45 minutes for it to close below. But should it close below here and then wick up and push down lower, now we got a good range actually on XRP. We got a good range to push a little bit lower into the 242.81 area, right? So we drop this down on the 1 hour. Again, we're attempting to break this low. We haven't yet. Actually, it would probably be better. Yeah, it looks like a little bit better idea would be to wait until the $2.52 area were broken. Or if it can't be broken and closed below, then we'd want to see, price test this area, bounce, and hold it. And then we could look to get long, right? We just don't, if we don't want to short, we don't want to see this area broken and close below. If we want to get long, we either wait for price to get down to this area and hold it as support, or like the others, we just wait for price to close above 256.75, and then we could get a move like this back to the upside, right? Back to the top side of this range. Can move this up to a little bit towards $2.63 until either of these scenarios happen or until we do something like, let me clear those actually, or until we do something like this where we're just kind of like losing volume and then break below. We're not going short, in my opinion. We're just not going short. We're not going short until we see something very convincing. That's just how I'm playing it. So I'd much rather wait for longs to develop. Something would have to change my mind for me to get short at this point. Okay. So a close above 256, 257-ish area would be a really good move back towards 262.35. And remember, the weekly time frame is bullish. So you have way more higher probability of getting a profitable trade if you are taking a bullish trade in a bullish trend on a bullish week. All right. You want all the time frames to line up. You want everything to line up to make your trade go as easy as possible in your favor. If it's going to be difficult in your favor, just don't take the trade. Just stay out of it and wait for something really easy to develop. All right. Cool. Super, super simple breakdowns. There's no predicting where the market is going to go. And anybody who tells you they are going to be able to predict where the market is going to go is a liar. Even looking at these higher time frame candlesticks, you can get a good general idea of where price is going. But when we have prices developing the way they are, where we're just moving sideways and we're consolidating after huge moves up in previous weeks, there is no designated destination in the market right now. The market is trying to digest all of this information and figure out where it wants to go next, right? Until it gives you a clear sign, a clear catalyst, a clear candle, and a clear move to tell you, hey, this is where we're going today, then just don't fucking do anything. Let the market do what it has to do until it provides you a very, very clear catalyst, and then you execute and you let it be what it is. All right, cool. That's going to do it for me today, guys. I'm not going to hold y'all for too much longer. We are coming into the daily close here in the next about 40 minutes. So on the next daily, what you want to see, if you want to see price be bullish, you want to see a wick down before reclaiming a level, breaking a high, and then continuing bullish, or a wick up first and then a breakdown below the low to continue its move lower. On the high time frames, just as you would do it on the low time frames. Price is fractal. Just know what you want to look for. All right, so yeah, just know what you want to look for and execute. All right, I'm gonna let y'all go. If you enjoyed this video, if you got some good information out of it, please do me a favor, just hit the like button. Get the word spread out to the YouTube universe. Subscribe to the channel if you aren't subscribed already, so that you never miss anything that we have coming out for you. And yeah, man, we'll be back when the market gives us a signal of what to expect next. Until then, peace.